Hey guys, it's Sarah here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're back in San Sequoia, but we are finishing up the Hopewell Hills neighborhood today and giving the Michaelsons a new family home. So just in case you guys don't know, the Michelson family is the one that we saw in a lot of the promotional stuff for the Growing Together pack. They were in the trailer, and I think there was a teaser as well with the family, but anyway, they are a family that live in San Sequoia, and this is the lot that they live on originally. It's a 50 by 40 lot, so it's pretty big, and they had a really nice house, and so I'm trying to do that justice and give them another really nice house, because their original house was, of course, gorgeous, but we need to finish up this neighborhood, and so today they're getting a new home. But yeah, this is actually 100% the nicest house that I've built in San Sequoia so far, and probably that's going to stay that way because all the other lots are a little bit smaller. The residential lots anyway are a little bit smaller than this one. And so I think the Michelsons are going to have the nicest house in the world. So, or in this world. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But yeah, in San Sequoia, they're going to have the nicest house in San Sequoia. So anyway, before I forget, I'm going to go on and put the picture that inspired this build up on the screen so that you guys can see what I was going for. And this is like a traditional craftsman house, I believe. It's been a little while since I actually looked at the pin. But of course it came from Pinterest as well, as usual. But yeah, I feel like this is kind of a traditional craftsman style house, which is the first time that I've really built that in San Sequoia. I did a really small one that probably was maybe a little bit of a craftsman house, but I'm not 100% sure because I really just don't know that much about architecture in general. I just like building in The Sims, so I may be wrong about that. But this house is massive, so if you want to play with the Michelsons, or you don't have to use this for the Michelsons family, of course you guys know that, but anyway, it's a very big family home. But speaking of that, I actually was thinking while I was playtesting this, and I'm curious as to what you guys think, so let me know if you don't mind. But what do you guys think makes a house a mansion in The Sims? I'm trying to figure it out because I was thinking about calling this a mansion, and I couldn't really decide that it was because I have built mansions in The Sims, or I've built at least one mansion in The Sims, and it just was undeniably a mansion. It just was massive and elegant and expensive and everything, and so it just was a mansion to me. But with this house, I just couldn't decide for sure if I felt like it was a mansion or not. So I'm curious, do you guys think that it's more about how much the house cost, or is it how big the house is, how many bedrooms it has? I'm just curious as to what you guys think of when you think of a mansion in The Sims. Like, what do you think that it should be? Let me know in the comments because I'm very curious. But yeah, I ended up deciding that this was just a massive family home, just a normal family home. So that's what I went with. I feel like all my thumbnails lately have just been family home over and over again in some form. I guess there isn't really anything wrong with that. But back to the house though, right now it is white and kind of like this brownish color, but before it's over, I'm going to change it to a baby blue exterior and then white accents, of course, which you guys have already seen the thumbnail, so you already know how it looks. But we are going to change the exterior up a little bit. And then for the interior, I used a lot of blue accents as well. But because the doors to this house, I ended up using a dark navy blue for it. And so I tried to bring the blue accents into the house. And there's some parts of that I just didn't really like how it turned out. It's a little bit too much, maybe. I don't know. I don't use a lot of color on my interior. So I feel like anytime I use color or try to, I feel like it's too much. So that's probably not true. But you guys can let me know what you think. I do really like the really bold, colorful door. I like how that turned out. And the interior, I like some of it, but there's some parts of it that I'm just like, maybe I'm just going a little too crazy with the blue at this point. But I'll let you guys be the judge on that though. But we have finished the shell of the house now, and so you can see how big it is. This ended up being a 5-bedroom house. But there's other bedrooms as well. There's other rooms. I guess they're not actually bedrooms, but there's actually one. I think there's like 3 other rooms, so you could add more bedrooms if you wanted to. And actually, speaking of the bedrooms, I am going to mention this before we go any further because the Michelson family, if you guys have been playing in San Sequoia and you're familiar, it's a 4-person family. But in the trailer, there was a grandfather. And then I've heard other people mention this, so I'm not the only one who thinks it's weird. But they didn't include the grandfather in the actual game pack. He's not in the family tree or anything like that. He's just like, it's like he never existed. So the grandfather isn't in the game, which is fine. But there's 2 parents and then there's 2 kids. And so I'm hoping that I get all their names right. But the baby of the family was named Orion, I believe is what they said in the trailer. But I may have that wrong. I'm really bad with pronunciation. But anyway, in my game, in this particular save file, Orion had actually aged up into a toddler, and I didn't realize that when I started building. I just looked at the family like they were and started building. So I actually built Orion's room as a toddler's room instead of an infant's room. And so I'm so sorry about that, you guys. I thought about changing it, but the thing is that there's plenty of room in this house if you want to add a nursery, or if you wanted to, you could just put down the necessities for the infant until Orion aged up. Or also, another thing, which you guys know this, but you don't actually have to use this house for the Michaelsons. That's just what I'm talking about because that's who I built it for, but you can use this house for anything. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, if you are playing with the Michaelsons, I would recommend either aging Orion up or just adding in maybe a little nursery, because there is a guest room in this house and you could just delete that and add a nursery, because the guest room is actually on the first floor, which is the same floor that the parents' bedroom is on as well. And so you could just add a nursery in there or just add in the necessities if you wanted to. But I completely messed that up. I went back actually while I was playtesting. I was thinking about the grandfather, and so I went back and was watching the trailer. And that's when I realized that I had messed that up and that Orion was actually an infant and not a toddler like I built the house for. So anyway, that's not really that big of a deal, but I thought it was interesting just in case you guys are wondering why that's different than the original family. But yeah, I was a little disappointed with that because I just didn't even think about the fact that while I've been playtesting other houses, some of these families are moving on. I guess I need to turn that off. I think I can turn that off in the settings. I think I need to look into that. But anyway, we're on to the yard area of the house now, and the yard area is actually my favorite part of this house. It's just packed full of activities and stuff to do. And look at that tree house. It actually looks normally sized next to this house, and in this lot, it actually looks like a normal item. I don't think I'm the only one who feels like the tree house is too big, but in case I am, I'm sorry. I don't mean it in a mean way. I just mean like it's massive, and then this house, it actually feels like it works out totally fine. I didn't feel like I needed to size it down. I didn't feel like it looked weird and too big and all that, and I was so happy with it. And also, Christopher, he enjoyed rocket science, I believe, was on one of his likes and dislikes. And I was so excited about that because I don't think in all the speed builds, all the builds that I've done, I don't think I've added a rocket to any of them. I've used it, of course, in my own builds when I'm playing and stuff. I've had it, but I've never actually designed a space for it. I kind of just slap it up wherever, wherever it'll fit. And so I was so excited for that little area. You can kind of see it right now. But I put down the rocket and I extended the sidewalk out to go around it. And then I used the little base game fence thing that I can't remember what it's called right now. But I used that to kind of make this ceiling top thing. I mean, it's not really a ceiling. It's open and everything. But it adds a little bit of a design to the top of this area. And then I put the little starlights around. I think that came with the base game update. I'm not 100% sure that I've ever noticed those before. But I know it's a little bit of a kid's item, but the way I see it is if you're into being an astronaut in The Sims, like you're going to like the stars, right? Maybe that fits the vibe. I don't know. That's what I was thinking, but I put those all around as well. And I just think that's such a cute little area. It's completely functional. And well, I say it's functional. I did play test it. I had Christopher build the rocket, but I didn't actually go out into space. So hopefully it's functional, but I think it will be because there's nothing up on top of it. Like there's nothing actually stopping it from being able to go to space. That's such a weird sentence. But anyway, that's the rocket area. And then this is the backyard. This is the most fun part of the build. I absolutely love it. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. But I added a splash pad because this family originally had a splash pad. And I think Atlas is a playtime captain. I think is his aspiration. So I wanted to have plenty of the playground equipment and stuff like that. And this just seems like a family that is very active and they enjoy being outside and doing stuff like that. And also I just desperately needed stuff to put in the yard. But I love the splash pad area. Then I added a whole pool as well. So we have a nice big pool and some loungers and stuff like that. And then there's also an outdoor dining area. And I included a high chair out in the outdoor dining area, but then when I got into the interior, I forgot about that. So I did go back and add that as I was playtesting, and I realized that I forgot to add a high chair on the inside. I did go back and add one. So that's fixed. And I also put in some dance floors in the back as well. And a tiki bar, I think is what I'm not sure what it's called, but I put a bar back there because Celeste enjoys mixology, which I just think it's really fun. The likes and the dislikes. I think it's really fun to be able to design a house specifically for a sim. and I'm not very creative. So the fact that the townies have some likes and dislikes automatically is just so much fun to me. And I don't have to think about it as hard. Like I can just look at what they already enjoy and then I can design the house around them. And I have enjoyed that so much with this new pack because that's really the first time that I've been building houses for the townies anyway. Usually I'm just building random houses, but I really have enjoyed that. And so yeah, Celeste enjoys mixology. So we have a bar outside, but I'm also going to have one in the kitchen as well on the interior. And so we have the entryway done, and then this area is going to be the living room. It's a little bit of a weird floor plan because there was a lot of space to fill up. And so it might be a little bit weird, but it's kind of like open concept with the kitchen and the dining and the living room. And then there's a bathroom off to the side that you guys just saw me decorate. The house does have 5 bathrooms total, but that's the only one that I decorated on camera just because they're bathrooms. They all look pretty similar. But I feel like that one kind of was designed for a guest bathroom because you can access it right here from the living room. So if you have parties or something, hopefully that would be where your guests go, because a lot of the other bathrooms are actually attached to bedrooms and stuff like that. But I do feel like this family would have a lot of parties. I feel like they would be really social and into the neighborhood and stuff. And so I kind of tried to keep that in mind. Celeste and Christopher, the parents of this family, they are both tech guru people. They're tech guru career. I'm not sure what to call it, but they're both in the tech guru career and they're pretty high up, I feel like. And I think it said they have a startup together as well. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, they're very much into the programming and stuff like that. So I included a lot of gaming stuff and computers, and they're going to have an at-home office because I feel like if you have a startup, you need an office at home. And so they're going to have a little office, which actually the office is one of my least favorite parts of the build. I built this over several days. Okay. And so I don't know about you guys, if any of you guys build, I know some of you do. But I feel like my building can change depending on my mood, if that makes sense. And so when I'm doing a house that's this big and I kind of come back at different times, and you know, sometimes you feel differently than you did when you started building and stuff like that. You get tired or whatever is going on. And so when I started building the office, I feel like it was one of the times that I just wasn't feeling it. Like I wasn't in a great mood. And yeah, I feel like you can tell because the office is just not my favorite room. But I do want to talk about this right now. So we're working on the dining table. And I wanted this to kind of look like an informal area, and there's a little bit of bar seating and stuff over in the actual kitchen area. But for the actual dining table that we have here, I wanted to have this couch there as well. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, but I wanted it to be, you know how you have like the breakfast bars? That's the only thing I can come up with to say. But you have kind of like bench seating. I guess that's it, bench seating. I wanted to have that in this build. And so I wanted to use a couch, but I have never actually figured out how to do that and make that functional. I kind of wish the couches would clip onto the table like they do with some of the fire pits and stuff. But anyway, that's besides the point. Basically, what I ended up doing was building a basement underneath that area. And so I used the basement trick, which I'm still getting used to. I don't know about you guys, but I kind of find it difficult. But I got some tips on one of my builds that I did on one of my shorts videos. I got some people gave me some tips and it was very nice and helpful. So I did the basement trick. I added the extra light, although I couldn't delete the basement. And I thought you were supposed to be able to delete the basement, but every time I delete it, the lighting returns back to like this really weird color. And so I ended up having to leave the basement in, which was a little bit disappointing, but you can't actually access it or anything, so I guess it doesn't matter. But anyway, I ended up putting basically the couch and everything that was on that wall. I put it in the basement, lifted it up with the tool mod, and so then it was in the room where it was supposed to be, and it looks like it's in the same room. And the couch isn't actually functional, of course, because it's considered to be in the basement, but what I did was on those 2 chairs that are on the side where the couch is, I sized those down. I didn't use tool on them to size them down all the way because you have to be able to click on them if you want to make your sim sit there. But you can kind of see it at the bottom of the couch. It's not, it's not super noticeable, so I don't think it looks awful. But you can kind of see those 2 chairs. And if you click on it and get your sim to sit on those chairs, it's completely functional. They can go sit over there. It does look weird when they're walking over there because they walk through the couch and they walk through all that stuff. So it's a little bit glitchy. It doesn't look great, but they can sit there. and they're kind of sitting like to the corner because they're actually sitting on the chair, if that makes sense. I should have took a video so you guys could see it. But they are sitting there and it is functional and it makes me so happy. I cannot even tell you guys how happy that makes me. And I know that's really weird, but I was just really happy that I figured out some way to make that decorative, but it's actually still functional as well. So I don't think that your Sims would probably naturally go to those chairs because there's a lot of chairs in between them and those particular 2 chairs. And we, our Sims usually pick the like weirdest routes and weirdest places to sit. So there's a couch as well and all this stuff. So they probably never would actually sit there without you making them sit there. But it works and it just makes me so happy. So I hope you guys like how that looks. I know it looks like it wouldn't be functional, but it worked out. It just looks a little bit weird when they go to walking through stuff. But that's pretty much it for the kitchen. And so down on this first floor, we have the parents' bedroom, which was the first bedroom I think that we decorated. And I tried to add a bunch of the tech guru stuff, but you can see all the blue accents now, okay? And you can see how they kind of don't match. And so I don't know, this little area right here I don't love as well. I didn't love how that turned out. I felt like I was gonna really like it, but I don't know why. The cabinets kind of bug me a little bit because they don't actually have any hardware, and so it just looks a little bit unfinished and a little bit weird, so I don't love that area. And then this area is actually going to be the office that I was talking about, and it took me a little while to get this, so I had to cut a little bit of this footage out because I spent way too much time on this office. But I ended up having this long dining table be the desk because they're working together, they're working on the same stuff, they're in the same business. So I just decided to have one long table as the desk, and then they each have a computer. And then I put one of the massive TVs up on top of it. And then I did include a little coffee area because one of the coffee pots is a reward for the tech guru career. And so I included one in the kitchen and then one in their little office as well. Also, I used really dark wallpaper right now in that office, but I do go back and change that to match the rest of the house because it felt like a different room. Like it felt like it did not belong with the house. I liked how the black wallpaper looked because it looked really cool and snazzy, but yeah, it just didn't match the house. So I did go back and change that later on. So if you get this off the gallery, it has a little bit of a different wallpaper. And then this area right here by the stairs ended up being kind of like another huge living space, and I didn't want to do another living room because it's kind of weirdly shaped. So I ended up kind of making it into a family game room, and I put one of the, what's it called? Foosball? Is that it? Foosball tables down, and one of the game tables. And I also included a washer and dryer in that area, and you guys may have noticed that because I kind of tucked it underneath the stairs, but it wasn't functional there, so I did have to change that area a little bit. But the washer and dryer are still there, and everything is still there, but it actually works now. So I did have to fix that because that gave me a little bit of issues when I was playtesting. And then also, I'll mention with the garages, my intention was to put one of the debug cars in one of the garages, and then on the other one, I wanted to make it into kind of like a little workspace and have the woodworking table and just some kind of look like, an actual garage. But I ended up changing my mind, and I'll tell you guys, I don't feel like we have a lot of good clutter for areas like that. Like if you wanted to make a little work area in a garage, I don't feel like we have a lot of good clutter for that without having to really dig through the debug and the live edit menu. And I just didn't really feel like doing that. So what I ended up doing was placing 2 of the woodworking tables in there. And I actually turned one of them around to kind of make it look a little bit different, and make it look like it wasn't just 2 of the exact same things like right there beside each other. So I actually turned it around. So one of them isn't functional, but the other one is. And then I just added a few tiny little decorative things around it. But for the most part, it's not really decorated. And then I went on and put another debug car in there just to fill up the space. But I did intend to make a nicer garage for this family, but it just didn't work out like that. And then we built Atlas's room and Orion's room. Like I said, I actually built that for a toddler and kind of messed it up. So you can change that if you want. To be honest, you could just totally shift stuff around in that room if you wanted to and add a changing table and an crib. That's what you need, right, for an infant. I don't know. I haven't really played with the infants very much, but I think that's all you need, a changing table and a crib maybe. But yeah, you could change that around if you wanted to. There's plenty of space. But then this bedroom right here, it's kind of like another guest bedroom, but I felt like we had enough bedrooms for this family. So I decided to decorate that for the grandfather. I know he's not in the game, and I'm absolutely terrible at cast, so I wouldn't know how to add him in. I guess I could get it. I bet someone has them on the gallery. I need to look at that. But anyway, I kind of decorated that bedroom for the grandfather. So I put a bunch of the kids stuff, like kids artwork, because, you know, grandpas love that kind of stuff. They love their grandkids. And anyway, I put a bunch of kids decorations and I put cards, and I just try to put stuff that kind of I would imagine an elder sim would want around them for decoration and stuff like that. And yeah, for the most part, his room's pretty simple, but that's kind of what that bedroom is for. And then this is the little playroom, and this slide is functional. I had to move it around a little bit. I started thinking that maybe it wasn't functional indoors, but I just had to move it around a few times, and then it's totally functional now. If you guys get this off the gallery, it's working. But now we're on to the kind of the last few rooms of the build, and this is when I just didn't know what to do. You know, at a certain point, you just have enough bedrooms. And so I ended up building a at-home gym kind of situation, and it basically just has like a treadmill and a yoga mat, and I think I put a punching bag in there as well. I actually had turned off my recorder at that point, and so I didn't realize that I had done that, and so I lost that footage, but you guys saw it really, really quickly. But it's just a little at-home gym kind of space because I think Celeste really enjoyed the fitness skill and the wellness skill. I always say really enjoyed, but she just liked it. It was in her likes. I don't know why I keep on saying it like they enjoy some stuff more than others, but we also have an at-home library, just really simple with some more computers and workspace and stuff like that. And then this last bedroom is kind of like a hobby room is what I'll call it, because we have some easels, which I think Christopher enjoyed the painting skill. And so we have some easels, we have another woodworking table, and I'm going to have some music as well, a piano, and just stuff like that. So that's pretty much it for this house though. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really like the way this one turned out, so I hope you guys do as well. But if you feel like it, let me know what you think down below in the comments, because I always love hearing from you guys. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today during the speed build. I hope you're all doing really, really well, and hopefully we'll talk soon with another speed build.
Go, Bay. Go, Bay. Shable.